So, Danielle, many people would think or say and believe that lower taxes, lower regulation, and lower immigration because of the crime factor, that those are all very positive policies to be putting in place. At the same time, the bears would say, well, wait a second, we've got the potential for increased tariffs. So, how do you factor that into your thinking for 2025?
So I think, I think part of the difficulty in seeing from one side to the other in terms of a suggested policy and how we get there, I think that it's a practical level that concerns me. Deregulation is fabulous. That's one of the easiest things that you can do, and it doesn't really cost anything. And so that's wonderful. And presumably there's some executive ordering in order to accomplish that. But when it comes to lowering taxes, President Trump suggested just this week that the homeowner that they can deduct double what they can now, $20,000 instead of $10,000 of their mortgage interest. When you hear things like that, you say that's great, but they have to be paid for. And by the same token, we know that from many interviews that incoming Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has done, that he plans to take a very slow go approach to tariffs, which would not generate immediate revenue. So, for me at least, it's a matter of the math and lining up the votes
Mm-hmm.
in Congress. And I'm going to use the word again, swiftly.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though that you are taking it down to that granular level, that practical level in terms of whether or not these things can actually get passed. Given what you said, I find that really interesting that they pulled people from Congress. There's got to be, a backup plan in terms of how they actually put policies in place,
Well,
which I think
absolutely.
can be
And
done in
again,
presidential executive orders.
well, and then there's the Department of Government Efficiency, and there's quite a lot of hope that they're able to come in and exact some changes, uh, but it really will come to a certain extent to the Supreme Court and the ability to press forward with changes that some would say require a congressional vote in order to accomplish.
Hmm.
And as razor thin as the margin is in the House of Representatives, there's no wide margin of majority in the U.S. Senate either. And moreover, I think the U.S. Senate leadership is what we would consider to be a little bit more conventional politicians. And so they're not just going to wield a machete and take to government spending uh, without really encountering pushback from special interest groups, lobbies, everything that impairs the ability to get legislation done in the United States. So again, I'm in very much of a wait and see mode, while at the same time
Hmm.
haven't seen any slowdown in the bankruptcy cycle. In fact, Standard and Poor's came out a few days ago and said that they expect bankruptcies in 2024 to hit a 14-year high. These real events are going to continue trickling
Yeah.
into the US economy in the form of rising layoffs.
I'm curious, what else are you looking at in terms of economic data points that make you have this wait and see approach? It is interesting when you're pointing out the continuing claims, you're pointing out the bankruptcies at a 14-year high. What else is causing you concern?
Well, we're seeing a degradation, as you've seen north of the border in Canada, of the U.S. household's balance sheet. In January, for the first time since March of 2020, people who have not paid on their student loans are going to be reported to the credit reporting agencies, the Experian, the TransUnions of the world. And a lot of these individuals, and when I'm saying a lot, there's about 40 million Americans with student loans, about half of them have not been paying them. This is going to further impair their credit. So when you think about the globalized world that we're in, the fact that U.S. auto rail shipments are down on a year-over-year basis, auto delinquencies are up, credit card delinquencies are up. We're seeing FHA government-backed mortgage delinquencies tick up. You have to ask yourself, in an economy that's 70% consumption, where the fuel is going to come from to drive the economy into 2025, given we are seeing so many more households impaired, as well as lenders clamping down on their standards.
Hmm. It's interesting just taking a look at the Walmart as an example. Walmart's most recent quarter was very, very strong. Target's was not. Target tends to be a little bit more of an elevated consumer versus Walmart. It was really just, I had to sit back and wonder, is this about Walmart just being a stronger player, or is the consumer actually trading down? And it might be the latter. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.